What's up, everybody? I'm Taylor, and if you haven't seen my channel before and this is your first time watching one of my videos, my intentions of creating this channel is to share my personal recovery journey. I am more than grateful for all the support, all the subscribers. I never would have ever thought that I would have gotten this far. And it gives me the courage to keep posting more because I know that I'm making a difference, even when my brain tries to convince me I'm not. I take action anyways. And I want to share a personal experience that I've recently had regarding grief. I've made other videos speaking about my experience with grief, and I've been in recovery for over 3 years now, and the things that I've been taught help me build the foundation to help me manage grief when it arises. And honestly, meditation has truly given me the ability to sit when grief arises and allow the sensations I feel in my chest, in my heart, and to not criticize myself or judge myself or panic. Before recovery, if I would feel any ounce of sadness or anger, I would just panic because I didn't know how to cope with my emotions. And there are times where I feel like dealing with other people, there are things that I could have done differently, or there's things I could have said differently if I would have just paused. But when it comes with allowing myself, when I have painful thoughts come up from my past, when they come up, I acknowledge them and I investigate them without analyzing them. And I decide, is this something that needs to be addressed right now? Or is this something that I need to meditate on? Is this something I need to write about? Is this something I need to use my voice recorder about? Talking verbally and getting it out? What are my options with addressing this painful thought that keeps arising? So for me, in order to even get to a place in my life, in my recovery, where I could even process grief, one, I had to stay sober long enough for my brain to level out. Two, I was on so many psychiatric medications, I was physically and emotionally blocked from myself. And it's been about 2 years since I've been off my meds. I didn't process not one emotion being on that many medications. And when I came off my medications, that is when I really started processing my emotions. And so for me, I talk a lot about coming off my psychiatric medications because that was my experience with facing sobriety. Being able to actually feel my emotions was very scary, and it was extremely intense. But I had built a solid foundation in which it helped me be able to face these emotions without running or hiding or numbing. And so I want to share an experience about grief. My grandparents raised me. They got me when I was 2. My mother and my father had custody of me for the first 2 years. I've heard stories, but I'll never know the truth today. But I know for 100% that my mother constantly screamed and yelled all the time. My mother and father constantly fought. And I was introduced to this stuff at a very young age. And so I'm sure that had a major impact on my nervous system. My grandmother thought that, I would be better off with her. And she's right. And I am grateful that my grandmother got custody of me. But see, the thing is, as a child, I would, have all this pain of why does my mother not have me? But she chose to raise my sister. So there would come the feelings of feeling, not worthy, not good enough, confusion, right? And I would give my grandmother crap for it because as a kid, I was suffering and I didn't know any coping skills to help me deal with my suffering. And when I would try to speak to my grandmother, she would dismiss me, tell me I shouldn't feel the way I feel, it's not that big of a deal. And she would basically dismiss me. So, my grandmother also would yell and scream, and she was very critical. But that doesn't mean that she didn't love me, because I know that my grandmother 100% loved me. And as I got older, a teenager, I started causing a lot of problems because I was suffering. My grandfather was the only one that I was closest to in my life, in my childhood, that made me feel emotionally safe. He was always loving and caring, and he spoke with such a calm voice. You know, and me and him, we were always hanging out together. And that's my memories of when I was little. Like, I was always wanting to be by my grandfather. And, you know, when I was about 13, maybe, he got extremely sick. And so from 13 to 15, I witnessed my grandfather slowly dying. And that in itself had a major impact on me, because here I am. I have nobody to talk to about all these big emotions that are going on within me. I have shoved everything that has ever happened to me. I have held it in. And the one person that truly means something to me, that I'm attached to, is about to die. So that caused more suffering, which caused me to cause more suffering on him and my grandmother, because of the actions that I chose to make, because I was in suffering. You know, I would run away from home. I would stay gone all the time because I didn't want to watch him die on hospice. It was very painful for me to witness that. Coming home every day after school, just seeing him in that hospital bed, like, it broke my heart. And I'm talking about this because this information is important, because I carried so much guilt and shame, especially when it came to my grandfather, because I didn't get the chance to apologize to him with him actually being conscious. Like, I would always tell him, like, I'll change, I'm going to do better, and I never would. So there was a lot of guilt and shame and regret and resentment I had towards myself. And the night before he actually passed away, you know, I sat up with him all night, and he was at a place with his health where he couldn't talk, he couldn't eat. And I just remember sitting there telling him, promising him that I will do better, I'll straighten up, I'll take care of my grandmother, you know, making promises that I never kept. And through the years of me using, I used so much to, like, push that guilt down. And like I just said, the resentment and the shame that I felt from not keeping that promise, okay? And so my grandmother actually passed away my first year in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I actually was able to ask her if she forgave me and ask for her forgiveness, and she authentically did. And it was such a beautiful moment that I got to share with her. And to me, it helped me look at my grandpa differently, because she was able to give me that self-forgiveness. And my point of saying this is that, you know, when she passed away, I was able to stay sober. I was able to face the emotions that came along. But what I realized, that something I do is I dissociate from painful experiences when they first happen, to protect myself. And since I've been in recovery, I've been able to identify this and accept that when painful things happen, I may dissociate myself, but eventually I learn to process them. So it's not like I just completely dissociate and just never address it. It's a thing that I've done my entire life, that I am probably 100, maybe 99% sure that that's just a part of my programming, because it's a survival mechanism. But me knowing that that is something I do, I'm able to work with myself and work with my emotions, and I'm able to just accept myself where I am. And I remember when she first passed away, I'm not going to go into the details of the experiences I had leading up to when she actually passed away, but the context of me explaining all of this is because I was recently working with somebody, and they started speaking about, you know, how they had a lot of guilt and resentment towards themselves with their relationship with their grandmother. And it brought up my emotions that I felt from childhood in general, And what I did is I actually allowed myself, after I met with this individual, to sit with myself and to process the entire session we had. And that's been really important to me. You know, when things come up like that, my natural response is to distract myself. But meditation has given me the ability to actually sit with it. And so I sat with it and I processed the things that were coming up, and I didn't cry yet. And I realized it was on my heart that night to like share a short experience with her about how close I was with my grandma, and the shame and the resentment that I had and the regret I had when I first came in the program towards the pain I had caused her because I was suffering. My intentions were to just write a short email, and it turned up being 10 pages long. And the thing is that as I'm writing what I need to release, I was crying all throughout what I was writing, but I allowed myself to feel those feelings without judgment, without criticism, showing myself love and compassion. And a couple days after that, for the first time in my life, yesterday actually, I grabbed my grandma's ashes and I grabbed an arrowhead that my grandfather, a real arrowhead that he had given me as a kid that I still have today. And for the first time, I held both of them in my hands, sitting alone in my house in silence, and I allowed the grief to come up. I allowed myself to feel the fear that they felt for my future when I was a kid. I allowed myself to feel the pain that they felt, because as a mother, I can feel that fear for my children's future. I can feel that pain of seeing things in my children that they are not aware of because they are kids. And so I allowed myself to feel those emotions without judgment, without criticism. And of course, that guilt arose, of course. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm saying just when it does, I'm able to acknowledge, you know, yes, Taylor, you caused them pain. Yes, I did blah, 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 blah. But I accept what I have done. You know, I've truly accepted what I have done. And towards the end of this experience, it wasn't a negative experience. I left that experience filled with love and compassion and gratitude that they are free from this world, that they are free from suffering, that one day I will be free from suffering. And, you know, it's important, because the weirdest thing happened later that night. I was in a Dharma recovery meeting. I am so grateful for this meeting. And I literally had my phone on a text message, okay? Put my phone down. You know, phones do weird stuff. I know this. Logically, I know this. And I went to pick up my phone to finish what I was doing with the text message. And somehow, this has never, ever, ever happened. My iPhone created a story, like on videos and pictures. The iPhones will create like memories. A whole collage of videos and pictures of my grandmother. And when I saw that, my natural response was to just ignore it. But I allowed myself to watch it, and I could feel a little bit of sadness, but certain pictures made me laugh. I allowed myself to face that, and that is something I have been avoiding since she's passed away. Like, when she first passed away, I was going through my phone, just like in my pictures, and I came across a video of her talking, and I got completely dysregulated. I was like, I'm not ready to watch that, because I wasn't. And I was told by my sponsor, if you're not ready, don't force yourself. If you're not ready, you'll know when you're ready. And now I know exactly what she meant by that 2 years ago. And so I was able to share my experience in a meeting of what meditation and just everything that I've learned, but really meditation, what it's given me, words can't even explain. You know, and I wanted to share that experience because I've shared other experiences about grief. In one of my videos a couple months ago, I was at the vet, and there was this lady that reminded me of my grandmother. And she was crying, and she had a tissue in her eye. And that anxiety, that fear in me was like my heart was like, go grab her, right? But my head was like, oh, what would she think? How would she react? Like that fear, right? That doubt. And I was like, you know what? F you, fear. And I went in for it. Like I went up to her, and I put my arms out so she could come to me, and she did. And I held her so tight that we both cried. And I left there. Her cat had died that she had for like 16 or 17 years. And I was able to give her the gift of comfort, the gift of love. And she also gave me the same things. She just didn't even realize it. And I was able to share my experience about it. And so that's my point when I say grief hits at the most randomest times. But if I allow myself to feel the grief and process it and cry if I need to cry, as long as I need to, I'll go out feeling better. As long as I maintain positive self-talk and being supportive and encouraging myself and like holding myself and the power of life holding me too, I am okay. And I've learned as long as I have been doing that, I don't find that things are being covered up or masked, that things are slowly but gradually coming up. And that's what recovery is about. Recovery is a process. It's not, let's dump all this grief out, this trauma, this dysfunction, let's dump up all the pain and face it. It's a gradual process. But the point is, as long as I'm willing to face it and address it, then I'm okay. So I hope this video can help someone else.